Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I'm doing sort of preliminary sketches for Game of Shrooms. Now, Game of Shrooms is a geocaching art and seek challenge, if you will. It's once a year in June. I will link everything about it. Now, I've decided I'm going to draw on some bricks. Voila, brick. I'm gonna actually paint on them. And I did a video sort of making lists. This is how I go about my process. I make lists, I sketch, I look, I tweak, and then I finally get to starting on the painting process. So when people ask me roughly like how long does it take you to create something, and I say, oh, the painting this took me whatever, 2 hours, 4 hours, that's not the complete process. So I kind of wanted to show you it broken down, everything that goes into it. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some of the principles of art and design. Now, I am currently drawing in a Midori A4. I use this for Sketchtember. I will link that sketchbook tour if you just like seeing sketches and see how I filled a portion of this A4 sketchbook. And you can purchase these on Amazon and JetPens if you're not doing a no-buy. I just really like how smooth this paper is. It's an ivory. You know, what's best is what's preference. So I have sort of have the entire brick shape on camera, on film. This is the size of the brick. And I'm going to try and figure out how to fill this space. And I'm going to think about the elements of design as I do so. Now, I have a degree in graphic design. I have a Bachelor of Science that I received in 2005. And the Intro to Design class is literally all about the elements and principles of design. And so my ideas as follows for these bricks. One of them was going to be a tiger, so I think I'm going to work on that one and see if that is something that I like in this space. Now, I've chose to do this landscape style. That's just a design choice. I could have done this vertical if I so choose. And maybe one of them will be if I decide that looks better. This is a black wing pencil. I think this is discontinued. It's a 2B in case you're curious. All right, let's get started. So, elements of principles of design. I'm going to do them alphabetically in case you're curious. I am currently going to be sketching a tiger as I do so. The first one would be analogous colors. So analogous colors, and I will link those videos where I talk about color theory. Analogous colors are the ones that are next to each other on the color wheel. So green is next to blue. Red would be next to purple, next to blue. Those would be analogous colors. They're what's next to each other on the color wheel. Now, why is that a principle of design? It's really easy if you are having trouble trying to figure out a color scheme, just to go with the colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. They will always look really nice together. So, kind of a tip or trick if you're suffering from decision fatigue or you don't know what you want to do. Background would be next. That would be what you decide to put in the background. Now, I am creating on bricks, so my background I'm going to leave as the brick material. I'm not going to paint the entire piece white and then paint over it. I want the brick to show through. And I think I don't like the idea of tiger floating through space. That's not for me. So let's keep going. Let's do another sketch. The next one would be content. Content is what you're creating. It's what it's about. My content, a portion of it is going to be tiger. So maybe I try to come up with the idea. Maybe I go real close into his face. Remember that this is Game of Shrooms. Everything has to include mushrooms. Contour. Contour is the lines, the shapes, sort of everything going around the item, the main subject matter. That's the contour. So how am I feeling this shape is how I'm looking at this. What's going to be left? And is this going to be sort of a mushroom hat that my fluffy tiger is wearing? Figure. The main figure of this specific brick piece that I am trying to figure out to sketch is the tiger. And the figure ground relationship would be, how does he relate to his background? So I'm not going to paint him entirely. There will be stripes. You will still see the brick through, so you will see the background color as it relates to the figure as well. Focal point. The focal point is where your eye goes in the piece. And with this piece, it would be obviously the tiger roaring and having a moment. Foreground. I mean, if the background is the brick, the foreground would be the tiger. That's easier to sort of look at and analyze when you are looking at landscapes and things like that. Foreground, middle ground, background. Line. This is the line. I'm drawing the lines. Neutrals. If you are, this is another one that relates to color theory. Neutral colors, colors that are all sort of subdued. They're not bright, they're not neon. Those are sort of neutral. Those all look really good together if you're having decision fatigue when picking out colors. It's another sort of trick of the trade. So do I give him a mushroom hat? Would it be like a fly aragic? You know, the red one with the white polka dots? Pattern. So pattern. Is there information going on in repetition? There's strength in repetition. So pattern, your eyes move to patterns. And the fly aragic has a lot of white polka dots. So that would be one way to sketch a tiger and include a mushroom, including pattern. Shade. Let's move to another page. Shade is sort of your main hue color and then adding black. So shade are dark colors. And if you are drawing a piece, an art piece, you want to, if you're trying to add a level of realism, you're going to want some form of shading. You know, if your tiger's orange, you're going to want to do sort of a dark orange or a dark red shadow for shading. This adds a level of interest, of realism. Shape. I'm doing shapes, so I have sort of almond eyes going here for my tiger's face. Everything is sort of shape. Here we have an upside down triangle. This is how I break down and do little quick fast sketches. This is something that I like. You know, he has triangles for ears. Shape. I look at the shape when I draw and it helps me sort of create rough sketches very quickly. Texture. If I'm doing a tiger, there's going to be fur, there's going to be whiskers, there's going to be patterns, there's going to be texture. Anything with animals has texture. There's also the original texture of the brick. The brick has its own texture, and that creates its own sort of painting issues, painting challenges. That's what makes drawing on weird surfaces so much fun, is sort of that initial challenge of trying to navigate that and sort that out. Tint. If shade is the color dark, then tint is the color with white. So what would the tint be? The tint would be the lightest color of the highlights. You know, the sparkle in the tiger's eye. Around the tiger's fur, around their eyes is sort of the lightest, and then a little bit on the face is also pretty white. Those would be the tint colors. They would be the lightest ones. So those are sort of the elements of design as it pertains to how you're creating and drawing. And maybe I do a thing with mushrooms like this in the background. and he is, you know, in the forest having a great time. And again, these are just sketches. I'm not sure what I'm going to go with, but I kind of need to visualize making this work. The other thing would be to draw some sort of koi fish. I want to do, I think on at least one of them, some fish, and it would be fun to sort of figure out if this is my fish, okay? And I do sort of the yin-yang fish type of style, that if the negative space here formed some sort of mushroom shape. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to come around and do that. If that's how I want to include a mushroom in there when I go to paint or draw koi. And am I looking down on the koi? Is the koi coming at me, you know, from an angle? These are all sort of sketch decisions I need to make when drawing and creating, you know? So here's another koi. I hope this video sort of helps and gives you an idea of my thought process and how I go about doing some of these things. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.